Today I'm reading Lucky Old Leprechaun, written and illustrated by Jana Dillon. Some people say you can't catch a leprechaun nowadays. Well, you can, but you've got to be smart about it. Those tricky little creatures will try to befuddle your eyes, twirl your thoughts, and outwit your plans every time. On the eve of St. Patrick's Day, the O'Sullivan kids, Megan and Sean, were sent to stay with the old grand-aunties, Auntie Moira, Auntie Bridget, and Auntie Kathleen. Sure, and you might think Meg and Sean would hate spending St. Patrick's Day weekend with three very old ladies. Oh, but what upside-down thinking? All Meg and Sean had to say was, "Please," and the dear aunties let them do whatever they wanted, just like that. "Aunties," said Meg one day, "we want to catch a leprechaun." "A leprechaun, is it?" cried Auntie Moira. "Well, one of those crabby little shoemakers?" asked Auntie Bridget. "Leave himself alone," said Auntie Kathleen. "Who?" asked Sean. "The leprechaun there in the garden," said Auntie Kathleen. "He's been there since we were little girls," admitted Auntie Moira. We named him Lucky Old Leprechaun," said Auntie Bridget. "If we catch him," said Meg, "he'll grant us a wish." "And the stories he can tell us," cried John, "true stories of long ago." "People usually ask for their pot of gold," said Auntie Moira, "but tricksters they are. You catch one by holding him in your sight. Blink once and he's gone. Forget about it, kids." "Oh, please," begged Meg and Sean. "Please, aunties." "Oh, all right, sweetie," said the aunties together. "You honey darlings." "What did we just agree to?" asked Auntie Kathleen. They had to remind her, for the three aunties, Kathleen had the poorest memory of them here and now. But as for long gone, she could recall every detail. "Remember, sisters, Lucky Old Leprechaun always lived under one thorn bush or another. You'll need the shovels, kids." Once outside, Sean said, "Okay, I'm ready. Where's the thorn bush?" Now that was the problem. The auntie's yard was surrounded on all three sides by thorn bush hedges. Meg and Sean sighed and started digging. At sunset, Auntie Kathleen called, dinner!" As Meg and Sean, sore and dirty, went into the house, they heard a snort of laughter. "Looks like you won't be catching any leprechauns today," mocked the little Irish voice. The kids turned back, but no one could be seen. "Can we go out searching after dinner?" pleaded Meg as they ate. "The day belongs to people," said Auntie Moira, "the night to the others." "Please," begged Meg and Sean together. "Please, aunties." "Oh, all right, lovey," said the auntie, smiling. "You sweethearts." This time the kids used their brains, not their muzzles. They slipped out the front door and tiptoed into the backyard. There, looking at the holes they had dug, was a wee man in green. He had his hands on his hips, and he was muttering to himself. "We see you, Mr. O'Leprechaun," cried Meg. The little fellow turned around. "Why, it's two wee children and sweet Aunt Bridget," said himself. "How are you doing, Bridget, my darling?" The kids turned to see. No Auntie Bridget. They turned back. "Gone!" cried Sean. "Tricked! I bet he's laughing at us." And indeed they did hear snickering. The kids trudged back to the house. Sean stood in the doorway and shouted over and over for Meg to come back and look out. But in truth, Meg wasn't there. She'd crept out the front door and into the backyard, and Sean the rogue, he knew it. There was Lucky Old Leprechaun. "How are you?" laughing as he listened to Sean. "I see you, old leprechaun," shouted Meg. "You again?" cried the Lucky Old Leprechaun, stamping his foot angrily. Sean came running. "We'll let you go if you give—" "What, Meg? What do we want?" "His pot of gold." But is that really what we want? Quick, Meg, what? I don't know, wailed Meg. I guess so. I guess the pot of gold. Granted, said Lucky Old Leprechaun easily. He took a candle from his pocket and lighted it. I'll just put my candle down to mark the spot, see? And on my honor, I won't move it until you get your shovels. Is that good enough? Oh, yes, said Meg, surprised by how easy it was. They raced into the garage for their shovels, but when they came out, the entire backyard was aglow with wee candles melting in the grass. He tricked us again, said Meg. We'll never find the spot. In the warm circle of light at the table, Meg and Sean joined the grand aunties for tea and Irish bread, the old dear's usually bedtime snack, you know. Sean and I have a plan to outwit the leprechaun, said Meg. How in heaven's name are you going to do that? Asked Auntie Moira. With your help, Auntie, said the kids. Please, please. The trap to track the leprechaun to his home was set up as fine as you please on the kitchen floor. Auntie Moira poured a drop of tea in a wee doll's cup and placed a bit of Irish bread on a tiny dish. Auntie Bridget let the kids put on her old step-dancing shoes of finest leather near the snack. And he being a cobbler, she said, giggling, how can he resist? Auntie Kathleen added the $5 gold piece that had lain hidden from thieves in her underwear drawer for nearly 70 years and was placed it by the teacup. Last, they poured gooey shamrock green frosting in a circle around the trap. St. Patrick's Day morn, the kids leaped out of bed and raced downstairs. Auntie Moira and Auntie Bridget were staring at the trap. It was himself, cried Auntie Moira. The little Manny was here. Indeed, the gold coin was gone. The food was eaten. Glory be, the little devil cut a piece of leather from my shoe, cried Auntie Bridget with delight. It worked, shouted Sean. Look, there are tiny frosting footprints leading to the back door. Come on, let's follow them. They opened the hall door to find Auntie Kathleen on her hands and knees, scrubbing the floor. There was frosting all over here, she said, but don't worry, I've cleaned it up. It's bright and shiny again. You didn't, cried Auntie Moira. But Meg and Sean ran past Auntie Kathleen and out the door. The green footprints began again and led to a hole in the ground under a thorn bush. But how do we get him to come out? Whispered Sean. Auntie Bridget removed one of her gold earrings. Put it outside of his door, dearies, and hide. Sure, and it didn't take long before a little miser came out with his eyes aglow, staring at the gold. We see you, lucky old leprechaun, shouted Meg, pouncing on him. A fine how do you do, cried the little cobbler. Bring the wee fellow inside, squealed Auntie Kathleen. Lucky old leprechaun saw that he was in a tight spot. If it's all the same to you, my fine Colleen Meg, he said in a laden voice with Blarney, I'm not interested in talking to anyone, including that sport Sean beside you, or even that trinity of old girls, your aunties. So I'll be on my way, begging your pardon. So long, ta-da, see you some other time. Meg didn't answer. She marched into the house and placed him on the table. Ask for his pot of gold, warned Auntie Moira, before he tricks you again. First, we want to ask some questions, said Sean, like, how old are you? Nosy child, gripped the shoemaker. You're every bit as nosy as your great-great-grandfather Kevin back in Ireland, who was always sneaking up on me and asking questions. But you're not half as bad as your relative Nosy Deidre, to one who married the Viking back 1,000 years ago. Did you know all of our relatives way back then? Asked Meg. Too well, snapped the leprechaun. Enough said. How did you get to America? Asked Sean. Wouldn't you like to know, said the little man. Tell us about the little people, said Meg. It's a long story, and I haven't got time to chat. I'm not answering another nosy question. Meg and Sean whispered into each other's ear and nodded. We have our wish, said Meg. Well, demanded the leprechaun. He hugged Aunt Bridget's gold earring tightly to his chest. Well, what is it? The auntie leaned forward to hear. Our wish, said Meg, is that you come back to us every St. Patrick's Day and answer all of our questions. No gold? Asked the little miser, looking truly shocked. With gold, we can only buy things that anyone can buy, said Meg. It would be soon gone. But hardly anyone in the world has a leprechaun to talk to, said Sean. Agreed, shouted Lucky O'Brien. Happily, I'll do it. See you next year, called Meg as the leprechaun leaped off the table. On St. Patrick's Day, Lucky O'Leprechaun shouted. Top of the morning to you all. And the rest of the day to yourself, piped Sean in true St. Patty's Day style. The end.